Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Haloani, the CTO of Coty, and together with me is Hallufgil, our Chief Architect, and both of us would like to thank you for joining our live webinar on the Coty Trustchain protocol, in which we will overview some of the key innovations and components presented in Coty AlphaNet and explain how we address some of the industry shortcomings which delayed the adoption of cryptocurrency for mainstream use. Basically, Coty is the world's first blockchain protocol optimized for decentralized payments, designed for use by merchant, government, decentralized payments network, and stablecoin issuer. In the webinar, we would like to review the main components of the Coty ecosystem, such as full node, Trustchain node, DSP node, and history nodes. And later on, our session, we can also share some of Coty upcoming innovations. But first, let's start with Eli live demonstration of Coty AlphaNet transaction flow and attachment algorithm.
Today, let me explain you about AlphaLive. AlphaLive is actually the live Coty cluster of our recently launched AlphaNet that you can see the code at our public GitHub Coty-IO. At the first step, we have to connect to any full node. Full node will give us the cluster data. So let's connect to the first full node. As you see, we get the data. The cluster is a data structure which is called DAG. And we see here all kind of transactions which are sent by user wallets. When I point to any transaction, I can see all the details, like its unique ID, its trust score, the attachment time to the cluster, its height, and its status. At the left side of the screen, there is a working full node. It is the full node that we connected from AlphaLive. A full node is a node that executes the transactions. It's taking the transactions from user wallets, execute them, doing proof of trust for them, and propagate it to other full nodes, so that each full node has the same data. Let me show you this fact at AlphaLive. So I'm connected to server 1, and I get all the entities. When I change the server and connect it to other full nodes, we can see that we have the same entities. Let me explain you about the entities at AlphaLive. The first entity is number of sources. A source is a transaction that no other transaction is attached to him. The second entity is number of validated transactions. A validated transaction is a transaction that is attached by other transactions. The third entity is the number of confirmed transactions. The confirmation is the last step of life cycle of any transaction. A confirmed transaction is a transaction that fulfills two conditions. The first condition is Trustchain consensus, and the second condition is the validation of double spend prevention nodes. A quick note about double spend prevention nodes. Double spend prevention nodes are getting transactions from full nodes. They are checking the validation of the transaction and they vote for it. When the majority is reached, we say that a transaction is reached double spend prevention consensus. After that, I explain about confirmed transactions. The fourth entity, we have number of transactions, and the fifth entity, we have number of transactions that we display on AlphaLive. If we go back to running full node, we can see number of transactions, number of confirmed transactions, and number of sources. Now I will show you how to send transaction from my wallet and how we will see it on running full node and AlphaLive. So this is the login page. At the first step, I will insert my seed and I will connect to any full node. We have 3 full nodes. I will choose the first one and I will connect to my wallet. Here we see the balance and I will send a transaction. I choose an address to send, amount to send I insert, and I press the send transaction button, and the wallet will send the transaction to full node. Right now the transaction is processing. The running full node gets the transaction. At first, it checks the data integrity of the transaction. At the second step, it chooses two sources to be connected. It does the proof of work, and it attaches the transaction to the cluster. The transaction is successful, and it is attached to DAG. At the working full node, the number of transactions is increased. The new transaction is also added to cluster of COTI Live.
Okay, welcome back. So this was our live demonstration. This is on real environment, real production environment of the AlphaNet, which you can try, use, and even check the code in the GitHub. What we have demonstrated is the transaction flow and attachment algorithm. You can simulate it, you can register to a wallet and try to transact on your own. But before moving forward and answering your questions, we would like to drill down a bit into the technical aspect of things and present the key innovations in a more technical-wise aspects. So you will get a better understanding and your questions can be more focused on what we have. Okay, so to better understand the Coty ecosystem and architecture, I will overview briefly some of the Trustchain components and their roles in the system. So in Coty, there are basically four types of nodes. The first type of node is the full node, which is the gateway for any client interaction in the system. The full node is responsible for attaching transactions to the DAG, validating them, propagating them to the network, executing the proof of trust, and also collecting network fees. The second type of nodes are the protection layer of DSP nodes, which are highly trusted nodes responsible for reaching consensus on account balance and also data integrity. Another type of very important node is the Coty trust core node, which is responsible, as its name said, for calculating participant trust score within the network. And the last type of nodes are history nodes, which are responsible for storing all the transaction history of the Coty ledger. These type of nodes are needed since we don't want to store all history on all of our nodes in the network. Another different type of not node but server in the system are the KYC server, which is responsible for the onboarding and KYC and AML verification process, and also the zero spend server, which allows us to release idle transaction within the network. If we put it all together and try to illustrate it, the flow and the architecture of the system, it looks like this. When each interaction in the system starts with an onboarding process, followed by an initial trust score being generated, and then enabling a user to generate his seed, connect to the Coty wallet, and start to transact. All transactions are monitored by the DSP nodes and trust core nodes, and each transaction is propagated in cluster within its domain, as it illustrated in the image. Moving forward to some of the AlphaNet key innovation, then the first one, which is one of the important one, is the proof of trust consensus algorithm, which addresses the problem of scalability. Coty scalability and consensus protocol present a new approach to achieve consensus between transacting parties operating in a DAG-based data structure by using trust score. The cluster achieves scalability through its use of parallel source selection and transaction confirmation, as well as its use of the trust score itself. Another problem the proof of trust is addressing is that the platform, in many platforms, there is no efficient way to balance incentive for network participants and also to safeguard against spamming and DDoS attack. This is exactly what the proof of trust allows us to do, and the way that it works is that we concatenate different types of hashing algorithm operating in a chain fashion, connected together and selected randomly based on trust score, network difficulty level, and transaction amount, meaning each transaction has different proof of trust needed to be confirmed. Another important innovation in the Coty and AlphaNet is the double spend prevention clusters. In most blockchain solutions, it requires that all system nodes be strongly connected to each other in order to reach consensus. While in Coty, DSP nodes are geographically distributed into another number of clusters, and all DSP nodes in a cluster are strongly connected to each other, and a protocol for cross-cluster synchronization is basically implemented. Adding to that, as opposed to most current double spending systems which are inefficient and centralized, in Coty the network consists of adding a handful of highly trusted DSP nodes to the network with only one function, to reach consensus on whether the transaction is legitimate or double spent. All transactions require a signature of a DSP node before they are considered fully confirmed, and any detected double spending attempts are flagged and refused. Another very unique aspect of the Coty network is the ability to monitor the network behavior in real time. In most systems, there is no way to efficiently detect bad players in the network. So in Coty, we have a monitoring layer which is used by assigning trust score also to nodes. No trust codes are used to monitor dishonest players in the system and help users select the most suitable full nodes to connect to. No trust scores are basically computed in a similar way to user, but with different matrix of parameters. The primary set of parameters consists of transaction generation frequency, propagation flow, confirmation frequency, and other load parameters which we have in the system. And basically, the more work a node does for the Coty network, the greater its trust score will be. Adding to all that, Coty have also developed a unique arbitration and buyer-seller protection layer. In most systems, there is no protection layer for buyers and sellers from transaction disputes. So in Coty, we have developed an arbitration service that offers dispute resolution through a decentralized collective of highly trusted network participants who vote and dispute on cases. The arbitration system is basically a decentralized application built atop the Coty Trustchain protocol and infrastructure. It relies on game theoretic incentive for jurors to correctly rule cases. Arbitrator jury is selected from a large pool of highly trusted network participants, and the process of forming the arbitration jury, getting to a decision and settlement is decentralized and cannot be biased by any party. So these were the significant key innovation in our AlphaNet version. As I said, this is available on GitHub, and you can check the code and also play with it online. But we would also like to present some of the key innovations we are planning and working on, aiming to be released in our upcoming releases and later versions. And the first one is the Coty multi-DAG concept, in which Coty won't be bounded anymore to one instance of the DAG, which will allow us to deploy different tokens and smart contracts on the platform. The second concept is the smart contract. Similar to Ethereum smart contract, Coty is introducing a decentralized on-chain smart contracts for the DAG, which is first of its kind. And another very interesting concept is the stablecoin framework, and it will basically allow and offer a framework for issuing and handling stablecoin over a Coty network. The Coty multi-DAG, together with smart contract and the possibility of multiple Genesis transactions, will allow us to create high-performance stablecoin. And from this point on, we will move forward to your question. And We will try to answer all of them. Just let us check what questions have been asked. And okay, so the first question comes from John, which says, what are the minimum system requirements for running a full node, hardware, OS, network protection? Please specify.
Yeah. So for now, this is a question that we are also testing it with our AlphaNet. Right now, when we run it, what we figured out that 4 GB RAM is enough for running a full node, and it's doing the job.
And it's important to know that not every type of node in the system require the same minimal requirements. I mean, full node is the minimal one which you need to run any node in the system. I mean, a full node is the minimal requirements type of node that we have. Trustchain node, history nodes, and DSP nodes will require more system prerequisites. But for the full node, we are aiming to be able to run it on any desktop or laptop or whatever you have, and it will be very easy and straightforward to run it.
The one that everyone has to know that full node is doing also proof of trust, so it does request a little bit more CPU power than other nodes.
Yeah. Okay, another question from Paul is a very short one, but if I understand it correctly, he asks, how can I earn? So there are basically two types of way to earn money or earn any coin within the Coty system. One of them is by operating a node. Each node can collect its own fees. It's a free market, so everyone can decide on the type of fees they want to collect for each transaction. There are also compounding the network fees, but this is a network collection, and not really a user-based collection. And another way for you to earn money or earn coin within the network is to be an arbitrator, rule on disputes. You need for that to be a highly trusted user, but once you are filtered, screened, and run through the training phase of arbitrators, you will be able to gain and get and earn some tokens based on your participation and votes. Okay, let me just look at the questions. Okay, another question for Mark is, do you know how many users are actively transacting on the platform currently per country?
We didn't test it for country, but right now we have around 10,000 users using our AlphaNet and doing transactions between them. And everyone that wants to use the wallets has to request the first coin from us, and after that he gets the coins. He can communicate with other users, and they can send between them transactions.
Yeah, also it is important to know that for AlphaNet, this is test users, these are beta users. I mean, these are more testing purposes. It's not real production environment. I mean, for the real production environment, we are aiming for a scale of very, very high throughput, 10K and above that. And we are sure that we are going to support it, as we already support it in the AlphaNet, which is currently live.
Yeah, in our instances, we already tested, and 10,000 can be achieved easily.
Yeah, okay. Another question from Amplify is, how many Coty coins we need to host a node? Well, basically it depends again on the type of node. If you are talking about full nodes, then no coins are needed in order to run it. I mean, anyone can run it. The network is monitored, and we can decide based on node trust score whether a node is participating in a dishonest way in the network and then block it. But full nodes are freely, and anyone can operate a full node. Trust score node DSP node requires some staking. It's again a free market. The higher you bid, the higher the chances that you will be able to run this type of nodes, but it's risk management. I mean, we are going to decide it based on the risk that we are putting on providing such an open solution for everyone. Another question, HSH root, can developers develop on Coty? You want to answer?
Yeah, of course. Our code is at public GitHub, as we stated before. The account is COTI-IO. You can fork it and you can look at the code, and we will be very happy if you will look at the code, and if you see any problem with the code, you can open an issue and we will care about it.
Also, there are many ways for any user or company to deploy DApps or whatever application he wants on the Coty network, and we are, we will even incentivize this type of behaving in the system. I mean, we are looking for application being built together with the partnership that we are currently forming, which will help us develop the system and also to enrich and test every part of our network. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, it's a question from Jody. I already signed up for the AlphaNet wallet, but it's been more than a week that I'm waiting for a document to be reviewed. Why is it taking so long? Actually, the current process is a bit more, it's a bit slower because we have a high demand of people registering, and reviewing all the documents takes time. Coming up in the next week, we will semi-automate this process by being able to identify and proofify the identification of users to a third party, and this will expedite the process, and next week most users will be granted access in case they are really verified, and they will be able to connect to the AlphaNet wallet. Once you are connected, please remember that you still need to contact us in order to get some fund to be able to transact in the system. Okay, so another question from Ivan is the KYC node going to remain centralized? Okay, regarding this particular question, we got it a lot. I mean, that's why I presented it and separated between server and nodes. What we call server in the system is currently a centralized process, which we don't want to remain like that, but it is the case right now. I mean, currently it is a centralized solution, onboarding solution, but moving forward to our mainnet and after mainnet, we are planning to turn it into a node. And even if it's going to stay as a server, the process of itself of approving user in the system is going to be as we do for the arbitration. I mean, it's going to be a decentralized government which will review documents, which will approve them, so that we won't have the control on who can connect or not connect to the system, and it will be decentralized as it should be. But this is an ongoing process. At this stage, at the AlphaNet stage, it is centralized, along with the zero spend server, but both of them are not going to stay that for long.
Let me add something about it. The KYC issue is also an issue with the legality. Okay, so at the first stage, for sure, it's wise to make it centralized, and then, as you talked, we can decentralize it in some legal way. Yeah.
Another question from Cash D. There are various nodes to run on the Coty network. Which nodes will be made accessible to the community?
It will be so. All the nodes that we talked, that was the issue of server and nodes. So if we summarize, the nodes that will be accessible to the community will be full nodes that are connected to DSP nodes, and trust core nodes, and history nodes. Those are the 4 nodes that can be run by anyone that fulfill the KYC procedure. And we have servers. One is KYC server, zero spend server. Those servers will be run by Coty.
Again, this is the current stage. It's not going to be like that for the long run, but for now it is like that. You will find a way to decentralize this type of nodes because they are very, very sensitive in the network. And it is important to say that if you are deploying an application on the Coty network, it is not really required to use, if you fork, for example, the Coty solution and you want to provide your own solution, it is not required that the KYC will be the only type of process for the onboarding. You can choose whatever you want, and it won't affect the infrastructure itself and the way that transactions are confirmed. The only thing that you will need to implement other than the KYC is something else which will define your initial trust score. So if you fork our solution and try to implement some other type of onboarding processes, it is something which is possible and it's not a mandatory layer in the system. Okay, another question from Nick. Why do you believe the world, in particular the finance sector, is ready for decentralization? How will a decentralized payment gateway become adopted at the scale if federal and state law in various countries are incapable of decentralized model? Basically, it's not that the world is ready or not. I mean, the world is going to be ready whether it wants to be or not. I mean, we can look at Ripple and Stellar and stuff like that, which many enterprises are already implementing and embedding within their system. And a blockchain solution does not necessarily mean that you can do stuff which you are used to do, and it doesn't mean that you control the old data. I mean, government and banks needs to understand that being exposed and sharing data over the network is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good thing in the long run. And we say, it comes from the crowd, and people will say that this is the way that everyone needs to transact in the new era, and that's why this type of technology needs to be adopted. Okay, another question is, could you simply explain how and why your proof of work, actually it's proof of trust, but it's proof of work, uses less computational power?
Yeah, in our system, proof of trust is used against spamming and control the network speed. You shouldn't confuse it with what is done in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, you have to have really good computational power to get to be the miner, to finish the job the first. In our system, it is not like that. So if you get the transaction, you are not computing with any full node. You are doing your job. You are doing the proof of trust, and the job is done, and you get your fee, and that's it.
Yeah. Also, as I said in the presentation, the purpose of you having the proof of trust has several aspects from our side, which are really, really, as Eli said, different from Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, we are not mining. There is no mining in our network. The only proof of trust is needed to safeguard the system, as I said before, from spamming, and Eli said it right now, and also from DDoS attack. I mean, by that, you basically safeguard all the system and all the network. Also, the proof of trust is based on the trust score and many other parameters which define how many work you need to do in order to confirm a transaction. This is very important in the Trustchain protocol because low trusted users and low trusted scores for participants means that they are more prone, at least in our view, they are more prone to be spammers and they are more prone to make attacks on the network. And that's why we require them to do more work in the system in order to get consensus, in order to be able to identify this type of attacks in real time. And also, as I said, this is correlated to your trust, to your network difficulty level, and the amount of transactions that you want to confirm. I mean, these are equivalent to the proof of work need to be done in the network. Okay, another question from Joji. So you released the AlphaNet and it's pretty impressive so far. What is the next step in your project?
The next step right now is the testnet, which will be issued launch at the end of December, beginning January. It will contain more components of the network. Right now on AlphaNet we have full node, DSPs and zero spend, and trust core. And in testnet we will add it also the arbitration service, mediators. That's it. What do you want to add?
No, that's exactly. Another question is more, let's say, high-level one. It's not really on the technology, but we will answer it. I mean, when reviewing the core team, it seems you have no blockchain experience. How will you deal with the learning curve? I mean, this is not really correct, but we have many advisor and development teams assisting our core teams to deal with the learning curve. Just to name a few is the Descent Crypto guys, which are involved in many projects out there, and we have an alliance of protocols of the DAG, which assist us and allow us to define how the blockchain technology and DAG can work together. We work with many consulting companies specializing in algorithm and advanced algorithm, optimized protocols, and mathematician also helping us in the cryptography side of stuff and defining the trust scores. And internally, we have a team of around 30 members, half of which are from the payment industry and the other half are from the software engineering industry. So we think that's more than enough, at least, to get the learning curve filled very, very quickly. Okay, another question from Tina is, will the Coty coin will be rolled over to the mainnet account, or would AlphaNet participant lose? Okay, that's the token itself. The Coty token was not really released yet. It's aimed for the Q1 of 2019, and the token generation event will only occur next to the mainnet. So AlphaNet users are using basically a virtual currency, which is test purposes only. You can get as much as you want, but it's only for testing the system. It's only for testing all the core components of it, and it's not for a real production use. You're not going to buy anything with it, and you can't transform it or exchange it with any other coin for now. I mean, we are still at the AlphaNet. That's exactly the name for it. We are still at the test layer, and we did not deploy and don't want to deploy anything till we go live, real live with the mainnet, not like other projects who go live with the token in the testnet or even in the pre-testnet versions that they have. Okay, let me just... another question is from Kirill. Where can we get this presentation slide? I mean, it will be available after this session on our website, and also on...
We will send it by email.
And also on the Workcast website. So you can either download it from here, or it will be available from our website. Okay, another question is... It's from Ori. He said that the testnet is planned for the end of December. When is supposed to go out to the Coty Pay and Coty X? At what stage? Okay, it's actually 3 different versions which are not really related. The testnet is aimed for the end of Q4, meaning end of December, of this December. And we are on track on that, and we will deploy the version on this date. But Coty Pay and Coty X are 2 side use cases of the infrastructure. So the Coty Pay is going to be deployed later on in October, by the end of October, and the Coty X is planned to be deployed by the end of November. They are mostly COTI-X. If I get into it and just say what it is basically COTI exchange. It will allow us, going forward to the mainnet, it will allow us to deploy different tokens on our infrastructure. So anyone who wish to deploy a token on the COTI Trustchain protocol will be able to define his own, like it's done in Ethereum, like it's the ERC20 token. And the COTI Pay, it's actually a use case, the first use case that we wanted to demonstrate to users of how you can use the Trustchain protocol for a commercial use, for a production use, for an enterprise use. COTI Pay will allow you to integrate a button of Pay with COTI, similar to any PayPal Pay with button, and you will be able to pay with COTI. As simple as it sounds, it's based on the infrastructure of COTI. It has arbitration in it. It has the trust score mechanism in it. It's still not fully DAG-based as we are AlphaNet currently, but once we go to mainnet, it will be transformed to mainnet at the core level, and all aspects other than that are application layer built atop the Trustchain protocol. Okay, another question from Dylan. What are the use cases that the COTI team discover besides stablecoin devs considering to build on its network? You want to answer?
Yeah, about the stablecoin. I will prefer that you will answer it because I'm not so much into it.
Okay, so the use cases are varied. I mean, we do offer, other than the stablecoin framework, it's actually a framework. It's not really a stablecoin. We are not. We are going to provide a way for you to mint and burn coins on the DAG itself. We are also going to have use cases in which you can deploy your own token. You can think of many use cases of, let's say, instead of wire transfer, just do a trusted transfer. Deploy exchange, deploy other stable coins on our network. And the trust itself as a trust platform can be used in many, many aspects other than, trust is needed not just in payment system, it can be used in IoT, it can be used for interaction between people, it can be used, for example, for storing data on shared cloud storage and giving privileges to different users. So we can think of many, many use cases. We are starting with the payment type of use cases, but from that we can move forward to other type of use cases. But as a business concept, we are looking at it as, let's say, three types. Payment providers can provide and take our solution and either deploy their own token and offer it as a payment mechanism within their website or solution, and by that minimize their fees, scale up, and won't be dependent on, they can give loyalties, they can give a lot of stuff to users by that, and this gives them power and save them a lot of money. Other use cases is the one that we are doing. I mean, you can build just as a merchant, you can choose, like, you pay with PayPal, you can pay with Coty, and many, many other stuff like that. Okay, let me just go over the list and see if I missed something. Okay, another question is, how does Coty protect itself from hackers, and can a trust score be manipulated?
Yeah, trust score cannot be manipulated as none of the participants in the network can dominate it. Additionally, we have several layers of protection. DSP node, mediation layer, Coty proof of trust, and onboarding process, which requires KYC, so that each layer we actually know the customer, and the trust score takes into account many behavioral aspects, and our network is monitoring all transactions in a semi-random fashion.
Yeah, basically spamming the network is prevented by applying the proof of trust. Other type of attacks are prevented by the double spend prevention models and also the trust score nodes. As we said, nodes also have trust in our system, so it can be monitored in real time, blocked in real time. Trust is adjusted based on transactions and turnovers. I mean, if you're trying to start an attack, we can identify it very, very quickly and block it very, very quickly. All payments in the system are protected, as Eli said, by the arbitration layer. So we have a full protection of every layer, and also the wallet itself is, of course, protected by a seed.
Actually, we can say that, you know, in any other cryptocurrency network, each full node is connected with other full nodes. But in our system, we have another kind of network topology, as we stated. So that let's assume that a full node wants to span the network, but there is no gateway to other full nodes. The only gateway for a full node is to another DSP, which is a more like it's a pyramid, which is a more trusted node.
Yeah. Okay, another question from Cash is when are we going to have an hackathon? The aim is to have a hackathon in October, I think by the end of October. I'm not, you know, fully aligned with the details here, so I would need to verify it and get back to the user by the email, and we will do it after the session. But we are going to have an hackathon in which user will be able to develop applications on the AlphaNet version, and of course win prizes by that, and even deploy their application as part of our solution. Okay, another question is, what percentage of your future profits do you intend to invest in R&D, research and development? Future profit is actually not something that we do have. I mean, we do have a network fees in the Coty network, but the network fees are going to be used mostly to retain and maintain the network and to make sure that the fees are not going too high. Any profits is going to be invested in the R&D and development of the network and expanding it and allowing us to, you know, apply and allow us to adapt the Trustchain protocol into the mainstream and find more partners by that. Okay, let's see. Okay, what is Coty doing about identities? Will we be able to pick decentralized identities instead of having to log into everything separately?
Yeah, the idea in Coty is not to pick a decentralized identity, but actually to generate a decentralized seed address associated with each account holder and transact using the seed address alone. There won't be any need to log into anything separately, as all the network components are automatically synchronized via the seed and address.
Yeah, I mean, each user is going to have a seed. For each seed, you can create multiple, let's say, addresses. Each addresses can be used for different purchases in the network. More than one seed can be connected to more than one address. There are separation between, let's say, consumer and merchant seed, but that's internally only, and it's not reflecting the user and it won't be aware of it. Okay, question from Sarah. What I understand from the Trustchain is that it is algo for deciding weightage of user in form of trust scores. Mm-hmm. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So does the team plan to lend out this technology to other companies for the system operation where trust is needed? If yes, does this protocol requires Coty coins to run on it? Okay, basically right now we have many partnerships. Not all of them can be disclosed, but yeah, the plan is to have either the Coty core running and the fees will be collected in the native coin, and user building their applications on the Coty platform, like we build, for example, the Coty Pay. And they will be able to use their own tokens, deploy any application they want. Similar to the way they do it in Ethereum. In the next phases, they will have their own, we will have parallel DAGs running, and each application like that will have its own genesis and with its own DAG running, and all the fees are connected to the native coin, which is our coin. But there is also the possibility of forking our solution and running your own solution without the need to be connected to the Coty coin. Again, this is an open source, and you can use it as you please, as long as you are compliant with the GNU license, which means that you need to be also open source. Okay, another question from Albert. Coty claims to enabling user to transact globally, with a low to zero fee system. How low is that low to zero fee? I have not seen any real numbers concerning this.
Yeah, right now, since we didn't start with the mainnets, we didn't concern about the number itself specifically, but what we can say that it will be much less than any Visa or MasterCard, any kind of other payment system.
Yeah, also every node has its own fee. It's a network fee, it's a generalized fee that the network collects, but any transaction and a full nodes can decide its own fee. I mean, it can be very, very close to zero, it can be very low. I mean, it's a free market. We are going to maximize the fee that you can take, but we are not going to, bundle it for a certain range. I mean, it can go as low as zero if you want it to be zero. But it costs you something, and you need to earn something, and that's why it's low to zero and not really zero. But again, even the fee structure is decentralized, and everybody can decide on their own fees and decide on their own.
Yeah, in summary, we can say that, as you stated, it will be bundled above, so that it won't be, full node cannot pick a percentage fee, which is over, making, it will be bundled by us, but the lowest, it can be really close to zero.
Yeah. Another question is this hackathon going to be a physical or online event? I mean, this needs to be finalized. Currently, the plan is to be a physical one with availability also online. I mean, we prefer the physical, but we understand that many people from all around the world want to participate, and that's why we are going to open it as a live stream also online and share it. Okay, moving forward, what is the difference between critical node and full node? Critical node basically is DSP node and transfer node, and the full node is the full node. Can you explain the differences?
The full node is any node that's doing the job, which means that wallet functionalities will be care with full node. Full node will get the transaction, making all the job, and propagate it to network. This is the work of full node. Any other node will do the network security and other side jobs that network can go on by itself.
Yeah. Okay. A question from Rudy. Coty will only be traded via the Coty X exchange, or will it be listed in major exchanges as well? At first phase, again, Coty is not yet deployed, but it will be deployed on our exchange, and this will be the easiest way to deploy any token on the Coty network through our exchange. It's the easiest, the fastest, and the cheapest one to be able to deploy your tokens on our network. Moving to other exchanges also very, very important for us, and it will be available, but it's not yet. It cannot yet be disclosed, and we can't talk about it because the token is not yet available. Another question is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, and moreover, question from Sarah. If other can run Trustchain, I guess we will require master nodes to run the operation. What would be the requirements for a master node if you have decided on them? No, that's actually not the implication. We're not going to have a master node which no one can run or execute. It just means that there are more critical nodes which require higher trust users to be able to execute them. So if you are a full node operator, to be able to upgrade to a DSP node, you need to be in a certain threshold of trust. Once you achieve it, you'll be able to upgrade your node from full node to DSP node along a staking of some sort. But we don't want and we won't have master nodes in the system, since this basically implies that we are centralized in a way. And that's not where we want to be. Okay, let's move on. Okay, another question is from Aaron. Will you be creating a protocol, some sort of software development kit for others to get use of your Trustchain?
Yes, the intention is to provide such SDK tools to easily integrate and build apps on our Trustchain infrastructure.
Okay. Another question is the Coty offering an open protocol to dev. Again, we are on open source. Of course, the protocol is open to the public, and as we said, it's available on GitHub, so you can check it. All protocol nodes and algorithms and every part of the network is going to be decentralized in a way, either by governments, either by the operation itself. It's going to be built in stages, but everything will be open and available for the public.
I think that's
okay.
it. We are done.
Okay, so thank you for your time, and would like to thank you again for joining us and for having us on this webinar. We will try to do more webinars in the future, and please feel free to ask us questions in our either GitHub or through the Telegram community. And we are also always available for any question, any technical question, any ideas. So feel free to contact us and to share with us whatever you have in mind. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.